Right, good afternoon. Welcome to the ONS committee. A few changed faces at the top table. So, first of all, I'd like to thank Patrick, who's now stepped down as chair, and thank him for all his hard work. And I'm sure we've enjoyed his meetings, and sorry to see him go. Even sorrier now, I'm acting chair today, probably. And I just need a member to propose the vice chair, please, if I may.
I'd like to propose Sam Wakeham as the Vice Chair for today.
Can I have a show of hands if everyone's happy for Councillor Wakeham? Thank you. Right, just to remind people that although you've had one already, the fire alarm went off this morning, so we'll be very unlucky if it happens twice. But obviously, if it does happen again, to go up to the end of the car park and wait to be advised to come back into the building. Okay. So, if we just go through the agenda. Cathy, apologies.
We've got apologies from Councillor Wall, Councillor Daniel and Councillor Blackman. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, now we have the minutes, confirmation of the minutes on the 24th of June 2025, and the committee obviously have read them. And can you consider whether the minutes are true and correct, and can I have a show of hands if you're all in agreement, please? Thank you. Right, so remind people that there is a declaration of interest clause, so anyone with any personable or disclosable pecuniary interest, in doing so, members should state if the interest is personal or declaring personal interest and the nature of that interest. So obviously as we go through, if anyone realises that is in their conflict, please shout out. Item 4, there are no items of urgent business. Item 5, which is the public forum, I've had no prior requests received. So if we go on to item 6, which is the thematic update neighbourhood services, and I would invite Councillor Bridgewater. Thank you, Councillor.
Yes, no problem. Well, I believe we've got a slideshow to go up on there. Cathy, have we got a slideshow to go up on there? It hasn't been sent, right? Okay, that's right. There's no problem at all then. Just to let you know, this is a report that is for the Overview and Scrutiny Committee to consider the progress update against the neighbourhood services section of this council's plan. Our frontline services are critical in keeping West Devon clean, tidy and well maintained. During this period, I've been pleased to welcome our new Assistant Director for Waste and Community Services, Stuart Noyce, to lead these important services for us. We've also made good progress with the Sydenham Damrell Community Governance Review, with the draft order having been submitted to the Boundary Commission for consideration. One of the actions under this plan is lobbying for better service provisions in the borough from other partner organisations. A significant focus of the council in recent months has been developing proposals for the future of local government in the area, with plans being worked up that will set out single tiers of council for all Devon public services. At present, we have I've got a colour-coded form here. We are pretty much on track with everything to do with neighbourhood services. The only places that we are slightly out of track is through staffing issues. Those staffing issues have now been resolved. We are awaiting quotes for our car parks and toilets that are going to be redeveloped over the next year. Chadford is one of those to be sorted out, as well as a multi-storey car park in Tavistock. Again, we are just waiting outstanding prices. With that, there is not really a great deal else to say in there. Our leisure provision is still going forward. We're still with Fusion. They're still our contract provider, and they are still doing that job for us. And other than that, there's not really a great deal to go through, apart from any questions that you'd like to ask.
Thank you, Councillor Bridgewater. Any questions? Councillor Guthrie.
It was really just if there was any sort of Fusion updates, how that was going, because it's been a sort of ongoing up and down sort of.
They are still our service provider. Currently they are providing that service for us. There is no change to that at present. There will be a report coming through soon, but I think most of that is part 2 at present, so we can't go into it here as far as I'm aware, Mr. Brooke. So yes, they are providing our services at the moment, and at present they are reaching out to the communities and engaging with some of the Tavistock run centres they're doing. So yeah, they're providing great services going forward at present. Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Kimber.
So on page 13, it talks about the start of the dog and litter patrols. How does that relate to the old dog warden scheme? And how does it work in practice, and how does it relate to the old dog warden scheme?
I would have to take advisement on that because I actually don't know, but I can get back to you on that. Certainly at all. So that's the dog wardens, yes. Okay, no problem at all.
Yeah, how they work, how the patrols are working in practice, and how we'll cover the whole of West Devon, I guess.
Okay, lovely. I'll get that back to you.
I presume the dog warden scheme is finished, but I don't know.
No, I will find that out for you. With the dog wardens there, no problem at all.
Yes, I think we have Mrs. Whittaker who can probably shed the light on that. Councillor Kimber.
Thanks, Councillor Kimber, for your question. So now we don't have a dedicated dog warden service. Our locality officers will go out and do those patrols. They've all been issued with FPM books, so they can issue litter and dog fouling fines to people on the spot if they are to witness it. So they've all got those on their person now. They've been going through some training. We are doing some targeted patrols in terms of dog patrols for dog fouling, and they are occurring on a weekly basis. We target specific areas, and also that depends on complaints as well.
Councillor Kimber.
So if there's particular issues in our towns, is it worth letting you know, or you're not ready for that at the moment?
No, absolutely. Let us know if there's any specific issues. Come through to our localities team and we'd be more than happy to get some patrols in areas where you let us know. So yeah, that'd be really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you very much. Any more questions? Councillor Reid.
FPM means what, please?
Apologies, it's a fixed penalty notice. So it's a fine that we can issue if people are caught dog fouling or if they drop litter. Obviously our approach will be an education one on a first stance, but if that isn't effective, then obviously we can issue a fixed penalty notice, which will have a financial penalty towards them.
Councillor Kimber.
So I'm interested in the toilet refresh programme. So parishes like North Lure have been looking after their own toilet for many years now and increasing their precept to pay for that. So I'm just thinking about LGRs coming along in a couple of years, and are we thinking about transferring the remaining toilets to the parishes before that happens?
Right, good question. Chris?
So I think at the moment the plan is not to instigate any new asset transfer programs, because I think there's a fairness question, and that fairness question I think looks both ways. So it three directions actually. So what's right for West Devon, what's right for the local communities and the parishes and their precepts, and then what's right for the future authority. So that's the position SLT have taken on this, which is if there are things that are in train and we need to get them done, we should, but otherwise it should just be the status quo.
Yes, on a personal note, Buckler Monacorum Parish Council, we look after the toilets at Yelverton, so it is an issue, and I know it's a big load of money to maintain them, and with vandalism they are a source, and it's a lot of complaints. So thank you for that, Councillor Kimber. Councillor Greenbury-Pullen online, I believe. You've got a question.
Yes, hi. I was interested to know what the number of fixed penalty notices, stroke prosecutions have been in the last year for fouling and littering, please.
I'll ask Emma to come in on that one, thank you.
Yeah, sure. So we've issued one fixed penalty notice in West Devon, but in this last week we've issued out 7 letters for interview for caution. So it's something that we are getting back on top of in terms of our environmental enforcement. So we've made some really great steps, and I hope in the next 12 months we'll see even more fixed penalty notices issued for people not abiding by the rules.
That's satisfied, Councillor?
But just to confirm, is that in the last 12 months?
Yes, that's in the last 12 months.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Councillor Kimber.
Sorry, I feel like I'm speaking too much. I'm just interested in the Oakhampton Community Governance Review. It says that meetings have been held between the Town Council and the Hamlets Parish Council. Just interested to know how those conversations are going, but you may prefer to talk to me about that outside the meeting. Thank you.
Can we speak to you outside? Yeah, outside is fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bridgewater. Are there any further questions for Councillor Bridgewater? I've just got one, which I touched on earlier. The two areas, or the one area I'm interested in, slightly off track, and I know we spoke about it briefly, the review fleet replacement programme to expand use of electric vehicles. What's the main challenges there we're facing? Because it's slightly off track.
Yeah, it's, what we're doing is it's the electric charging points in the West Devon area. South Hams is serviced slightly better with charging points, whereas West Devon isn't, so that's something we're identifying at present.
Thank you. Any further questions? Thank you, Councillor Bridgewater. Very informative, and thank you for taking those questions. And you, Emma, thank you, and Chris. If we can move on now to the thematic update. I do apologise. Yes. No.
Would you like me to repeat put my proposal forward again?
Yes, I do apologise. Sorry, new boy at the job. So, the recommendations are that the Overview and Scrutiny Committee considers the progress update against the Neighbourhood Services section of the Council Plan. Can I have a proposer and a seconder, please? Proposed Sony, Councillor Leach, and Councillor Kimber seconding. Thank you. Right, thank you. Okay, as I said, item 7, thematic update on housing. Well, Blake, thank you.
Hello. Apologies from Councillor Mark Wenders, who's the portfolio holder for housing. He's unfortunately at a meeting in London, I believe, to talk about all things housing there as well. So in the absence of Councillor Wenders, this is our thematic update around the housing theme. In the introduction, we've highlighted a number of our sort of key achievements. In the past year, we've delivered 96 new homes across the borough, and we've relieved or prevented homelessness in 115 different cases, and we've managed to house 128 families and single people from the housing register. We are on track with all of our actions. We've completed a couple, 9 are on track and 2 are yet to start. Is there any questions? Yes.
Right, any questions for Isabel Blake? Councillor Southcott.
Are the flats down by the bus station now in use or not?
We've occupied one of those properties. We're still awaiting final sign-off on a couple of things, and we will be able to let the other 2. So yes, it's in occupation, and the residents really happy with the standard of accommodation there. So it's a great achievement for Tavistock.
Thank you.
Councillor Guthrie.
I was wondering if we've got any update on Wanacotts.
That's your answer, Steve. That's your answer.
I'm not satisfied.
We're looking to bring a update report to the hub in the coming months. We are busy doing the various surveys. We have to do architect, ecologist, highways, flood. There's a number of things that we need to do, and then we will start to look at getting a planning application together, and part of that will be around local resident and general public engagement, which is a key part of that. So yeah, there'll be a full update coming to the hub in the coming months.
So we're not anywhere near really looking at numbers and anywhere near architectural plan stage.
So we're working up towards a planning application and then something to consult with the public on, and the order of that will be the hub and the local ward members. I've got the order here actually. Portfolio holder and ward members, Oakhampton Town Council, local residents and general public. So there'll be.
So you've been engaging with I've forgotten the name of them. They invented a name, a group that. What was their name again?
So we do understand that they had a public meeting, and we were not in attendance at that public meeting. We will look at doing our own consultation across the board, so that of which we will of course invite those people, but we'll also consider the rest of the make it about the actual housing there and what we've got planned for the whole site.
So that hasn't been specifically divided, because I thought there was a ratio that has now been concretised into how much is going to be for the housing and how much given over.
Yes. So we're still working on the plan that went to the hub originally with the following the briefing that we gave to ward members and the portfolio holder. So we're still looking at that with part of the site for housing and part of the site for community use. Yeah, that's still, we haven't deviated from that from what was in the hub report back in June.
Councillor Guthrie, can you just bring your microphone a bit towards you? It's a bit intermittent.
Thank you very much. I'm now vaguely satisfied.
Any further questions? Councillor Kimber.
I'm not sure this is quite on topic, but it says this on page 21, we want to support the needs of homeless households. I think I've spoken to you about this a bit before, and the housing crisis is obviously a top priority for West Devon, but I was recently referred to a long-term homeless couple who were given a housing association home, and I knocked on the door. They had no money, they didn't have any food, they didn't have any cooking or washing facilities. The floor was just concrete, which I know is the standard way that homes are given to people. But they have no connection with the local community. And I just wonder in what way we're supporting the needs of homeless households. I just think if I was put in that position, I'm quite confident. I think I would struggle to cope. So I'm just really worried about people who find themselves in this position, and I just want to know are we or our partners doing anything to help people who find themselves like that.
I mean, we supported them by accommodating them, but that, the bricks and mortar is only part of the issue, and some of the wider things around affordability, being connected with the community. We do accept that some people do end up in a community where they haven't got those connections because it's the property that's become available and they are in desperate need. There is more to do. It's very difficult because it's not our statutory duty to do some of these things, but other partners who we link in with, we can look at the money that we can make available through the Household Support Fund, through discretionary housing payment to pay rent in advance. Carpets remains a problem, particularly in housing association properties, because it is their default to let properties with no flooring, which we have talked to them continuously about this, and I know that Live West did do a pilot around that. I will find out what the outcome of that was. They're concerned about the quality of the floor underneath the carpets, which is one of the issues why they roll it up. But yeah, there is probably more to do, and there is more for the community groups and things to do, but it's really difficult. I haven't got the answer.
Yeah, Councillor Kimber.
So I wasn't referred to this couple by the council. So how are these situations normally handled? Because if they weren't, if I didn't find out about them, I don't know what would have happened to them. So what normally happens?
So, I mean, we would have accommodated them, and as part of that, we would have made sure that if they were, that we have a contract with a homemaker who give money advice, make sure that people are claiming the right benefits, that they're getting all the money that they're entitled to. We also fund the CA for some of that advice as well. There's food banks, there's the voluntary service which we, through their housing options interviews, that's what they will be advised of. I mean, I'm not quite sure, and without going into specifics in a public arena, I don't know whether they were one of ours or whether they came from out of area, which might have obviously changed the advice that they were given if they didn't come via our housing advice service. But a lot of it's dependent on that person, sort of self-referral, and sometimes there are challenges with people feeling able to do that. It's really difficult in rural communities. I don't think we've bottomed it out yet.
Councillor Kimber.
So I didn't realise that then. So this family may have come from outside the West Devon area, and we might not even have known about them.
It's possible, yeah. Through Devon Home Choice, we have got, there is some promotion of social mobility, that people will move to different areas, particularly if there's not local connection criteria on those different properties. So somebody in Hatherley could easily have moved from Torridge, or that wouldn't be unheard of. We try and limit that as much as possible by the local connection criteria that we apply. But it's possible. But we can talk outside about that particular one.
Councillor Kimber, can I just put my personal view? I was a housing officer for the last 10 years for sanctuary housing, and what you're bringing forward is a very, very common. And I understand what Isabel's saying. I used to constantly battle with our voids team when they took the carpets out of properties. When you do a pre-end of tenancy inspection, you go in and you say the carpets are fine, lovely stair carpet will be left. You go to re-let the property, and the voids team have taken them out because either they think they've got fleas or there's structural damage. The issue of engagement, often the people engage because they're forced to engage, but the housing officer will attempt, to get all the benefits, but it is very hard. And Devon Home Choice, I actually worked under Cornwall. I was a housing officer in Cornwall. And we would have people, I covered North Cornwall, I would have people coming from St Ives up who knew nobody in the area, and you used to do the sign-up, as it's called, when you signed them up, and they'd be, where's the nearest shop? Where's this? So it is a real issue. And as housing associations have less and less housing officers and more houses being built, it's just a self-perpetuating. But I do understand your situation, and it is hard for housing, but Devon and Cornwall Home Choice does allow people to move considerably out of area for numerous reasons. Anyway, that was just one from Councillor Guthrie.
Yeah, you've sort of partly answered in relation to carpets and flooring, but it seems pretty unacceptable to me that can happen. If people who are in a vulnerable state are moving into a home and really the check should be the day before they come in, that they have carpets in there. You can't really give people housing on concrete.
It happens. Councillor Guthrie, it happens. And again, as housing officers and people involved, these issues arise, and I understand in an ideal world there will be carpets down, but
and is that Devon Home Choice's responsibility?
It's what's called the letting standard. Every housing association has what's called a letting standard, and we used to do them as housing officers. They were called letting standards checks, and we would go to our properties before we signed people up, and we would make sure simple things like they had plugs, they had hot and cold water, but they did not have to have carpets. That as officers, we were bound by that, and I agree. When somebody is moving in, has got limited means, not having carpets is. But again, we do try to get voluntary organisations to help or put carpets in before. But
it seems like it should be a statutory requirement to me. But there you go.
I understand, Councillor Guthrie. Sorry, I missed Councillor Southcott next.
On the issue of carpets, there was a documentary recently on television that I came across where this letting problem was highlighted, And there's charities, admittedly up in the north, where they are supplying carpets to vulnerable people. Is there anything like that in the southwest?
Well, through there's all sorts of Homemaker are really great at getting money from different charities, very obscure charities in some cases, where if you have had previous workers, I don't know anything, a tailor, or they can access benevolent funds and money to try and do some of those things. So they're really great, but there isn't one that just deals with carpets, but it is an issue, and I absolutely share your point that it's difficult, particularly with. I mean, it makes for there is an obvious link between trips and falls where you've got no carpet down and you use rugs, and there is some proven evidence around. I'm looking to Ian not because he's tripped and fallen, but because of the obvious link with disabled facilities grants as a result of people breaking a hip or something because they've slipped because there's no carpet.
Sorry, may I? Is there any scope in approaching carpet selling people to obtain carpets that are no longer selling that can be used? So always things go in fashions, and you get stuff sitting on the shelf doing absolutely nothing, and the company is probably going to chuck it away eventually. Which I think is how the charity up north works. They get it from carpet companies, flooring companies, for nothing, and then they go and fit it, where it's needed. Is this something we can explore, maybe, to see if we can get some sort of organisation going in the southwest?
I could definitely ask Homemaker what their sort of entries are into trying to support people with carpets, and seeing if that's something that they do already or whether that's something that they would have scope to take on. Yeah.
Okay, if I can go to Councillor Greenby-Pullen online. Apologies, Councillor, if it takes so long.
Thank you. So my background was in letting, and I owned a letting business, quite a large one, a few years ago that was sold. I was just under the impression that under the Landlord and Tenant Act, that it's only practice, it's not a necessity, that councils remove older carpets, and that's purely down to hygiene reasons. I'm just wondering if, when the assessment's done, why couldn't there be a disinfectant clean, or to ensure that hygiene doesn't become an issue? And the second point to the question is that there is a question mark over whether standards could be breached if the flooring, from my recollection, causes or could potentially cause cold, damp or mould problems, or whether it could be unsafe. So things like nails, screw heads, splinters, etc. It seems to me that in a really temperate climate like we have, a cold concrete floor is highly likely in a property with hopefully warmth in it to produce condensation and potential damp. But also, I think more importantly, to look at a solution to this is actually the removal of carpets. I mean, obviously, if they are in an awful state, they can't be retained. But it's only best practice. It's not a legal requirement to remove carpets. I'm just thinking, could we look at disinfecting and professionally cleaning carpets to ensure that for a relatively small cost, that actually tenants do have a home that reduces some liability, certainly for vulnerable tenants falling on solid floors, and also creates a little bit of comfort for a very minimal price.
Councillor, I'm going to ask Ian Luscombe to come back on that one to provide an answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Ian Luscombe. I'm Head of Environmental Health and Licensing, and as such, some of the work which my team do falls into the housing portfolio, just to explain a little bit why I'm backing up Izzy this afternoon. So thank you for the question, Councillor Greenby-Pullen. I was thinking about this as the debate started as well, in terms of enforcement, because my team is responsible for the enforcement of housing standards in rented properties, including both private tenants who are private landlords and also social landlords as well, and social tenants. Councillor Greenbury-Pullen, of course, was right in terms of it can be something which we can enforce on if it has impact upon the thermal comfort of the property, or the lack of carpet in itself causes some sort of slip, trip or fall hazard. So it's actually looking at what hazard the lack of a carpet would present for us to be able to enforce on it. We simply can't require a carpet because there isn't a carpet, because as you know, these days many people don't have carpets in their properties. They've got wooden floors or concrete floors or whatever. I was thinking though, we are looking at new legislation coming in the spring, which is in the form of the Rental Reform Act. And whilst it's not entirely clear what that legislation will bring us, it's likely that local authorities might be able to enforce what we call a decent home standard. And the decent home standard is a much tighter standard for landlords to comply with in terms of the standards which they are able to accommodate their tenants in, based on what we've got at the moment. Can you still hear me? Stop. The current legislation, as I say, revolves around what hazard is created by the lack of something or the presence of something. It might well be that this enables local authorities, local councils to enforce on things which are missing, like a missing lampshade or a missing carpet, or just because that they're not there, as opposed to any potential impact upon the health and comfort of the occupant. So I think it's a case of watch this space as to whether we'll be able to do some further work with that when the new legislation arrives in the spring. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Councillor Greenby-Pullen, you'd like to come back?
Yes, thank you. Thanks for your answer. It's interesting what the Rent Reform Act brings forward. I would still like to question whether or not we could look at sanitising carpets rather than, from an environmental point of view, throwing carpets that have excessive amount of carbon attached to them, and we're just disposing of those. There's a cost for that, and I suspect the cost for cleaning them is certainly not going to be as expensive and costly to the council or to the housing associations, actually, compared to the cost of disposing them if we were to source a local company to do that. I think that's something we should really look at doing, because I think to be throwing out part of the fitting of a property which offers thermal benefit to the resident and therefore costs them significantly less in heating as well, would be a really positive step we could take, and I think it's really achievable if we work together on that.
Thank you. Isabel.
Within our temporary accommodation stock, we do provide carpet and non-slip floor, so all our own accommodation, and we will replace that. So we don't let our accommodation that we own without any carpet or non-slip floor.
Thank you for confirming that. Councillor Leach, you had a question. You're okay. Any further questions? Councillor Greenby-Pullen, have you got your hand up again, or is it left up from your last question?
Sorry, that's my error.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, okay. If there's no further questions, looking around the room. Overview and scrutiny. The thematic update housing. The recommendation before the committee is that the Overview and Scrutiny Committee considers the progress update against the housing section of the council plan. Do I have a proposer, please? Thank you, Councillor Kimber. Seconder? Thank you, Councillor Reid. Thank you, Ian, as well. Thank you very much for your time. We'll move on now to item 8 on the agenda, which is key performance indicators, April to August 2025, and invite Councillor Edmonds to address the committee. Thank you, Councillor Edmonds.
Thank you, Chair. This is the second performance update for 2025-26, covering the period from April to August. As members will be aware, regular monitoring of our key performance indicators is an important part of the Council's performance management framework, helping us to track progress against our priorities and identify any areas where further focus or improvement might be needed. The last performance report came to this committee in June, and since then we've continued to see strong performance across many of our core services, with just 3 areas slightly below target. Looking at those in a bit more detail, employment estates at 85% against a target of 90%. There are 2 business units in Oakhampton with lease renewals nearing completion, which will help increase performance towards target. There is strong demand for units, and the payment rate is 99.51%, which is very good. Recycling rates at 56% against a target of 57% at the end of June. July and August figures were not available at the reporting date. Although performance is slightly below target, it is consistently above the average for England compared to the 23-24 data. In September, the Council supported Recycle Week, a campaign that continues to highlight recyclable items that too often end up in the rubbish bin. Revenue cores at 75% against a target of 80%. Work continues to encourage more residents to interact with the Council online, and further initiatives are being considered, such as better use of AI. So in summary, this report provides members with an up-to-date picture of how the Council is performing in delivering key services to our communities, and the report recommendation is that the Overview and Scrutiny Committee considers and notes the key performance indicators for April to August 25.
Thank you, Councillor Edmonds. Questions for Councillor Edmonds, please. Well, you've obviously satisfied the committee. Thank you, Councillor Edmonds. Thank you. Right, we now move on to item 9, which is the recommendation. Thank you. Sorry. Right, the recommendations is that the Overview and Scrutiny Committee consider and note the key performance indicators for April to August 2025 as set out in Appendix A. Do we have a proposer? Thank you, Councillor Guthrie. Seconder, Councillor Kimber. Thank you. Right, we now are on to item 9, which is the Local Government Ombudsman Annual Review Letter. And Councillor Edmonds, you're staying in the chair for that? Councillor Edmonds.
Indeed, yes, thank you, Chair. This is the Ombudsman Annual Review Letter, which gives us a helpful overview of how the Council has handled complaints. As you will have noted, the number of cases referred to the Local Government and Social Care Ombudsman remains very low. Just 6 in total during 24-25, and only 2 of the 6 complaints were investigated, with 1 upheld, which referred to a planning enforcement complaint. Overall, these are encouraging results and reflects the hard work of our teams to resolve issues early and deal with residents' concerns fairly and consistently. The Ombudsman has changed the way it presents information this year, focusing more on actual numbers rather than percentages. That's a positive move, giving a clearer picture of how councils are performing in context. In February 2024, the Ombudsman launched a complaint handling code, which sets out clear standards for responding to complaints effectively and transparently. Frontline staff have been trained on the code, which will be applied by the Ombudsman from April next year. Overall, I think this report shows that West Devon continues to manage complaints in a fair, proportionate and constructive way, and I'd like to thank officers for their professionalism and commitment in this area.
Thank you, Councillor Edmonds. Any questions from the committee? Okay, the recommendations are the overview and scrutiny reviews the Ombudsman annual letter for 24 to 25, which is attached to Appendix A, and makes any necessary recommendations. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Southcott, seconder. Councillor Reid, thank you. Right, well, item 10 is the task and finish updates. We had a meeting on the 29th of July, but there's nobody here to present the update, so we'll move on to item 11, which is the committee annual work programme. Thank you. Kathy's put that up on the screen. So our next meeting, 20th of January next year, so we can expect an update from community wellbeing and key partnerships. The update from customer access and waste, obviously any task finish updates, and we will endeavour to get some updates because I'm conscious that we've got 3 task finish groups, and then obviously we'll look at the work plan. Any questions on that? Anything people want to put forward? Any observations? How do members feel about that as the next meeting? Councillor Kimber.
I was just saying about the food and farming task and finish group, there's nothing on there, which you just mentioned. But we haven't met, I don't think, since last time.
No, quite correct. I think what we need to do is to try and get the food and farming to meet again, and then obviously get some updates. But yes, I'm conscious that we haven't done an update, and I think, as I said in my notes, we met on the 29th of July. But thank you, Councillor Kimber. I'll keep that on board. Councillor Guthrie.
When are we due to meet South West Water next? Do we have a date?
Not as yet. We can get a date up. Is that? I mean, I know the members are very keen to speak to South West Water, so do I take that if we get a date for them to come? And do we want South West Water and the EA at the same time, or do the South West Water, Environment Agency?
Well, I think we should keep them both in hand if we can.
Okay.
Best coming separate.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Councillor Southcott.
I was just going to say that it's best we keep them separate.
Thank you. I take that as members to keep, obviously, South West Water and the EA on separate agendas. Thank you. Councillor Guthrie.
Well, we've had them together before, haven't we? And then we have had them separate. And I'm not sure if it's better to have them separate. Because it depends what you want out of the meeting and what questions. Because if you have them together, then you can have someone corroborating or not what that person is saying. And if you have them separate, then you've got to come back again. I realise there can be some difficulties with that, but I think it's worth thinking about before we decide.
Chris just wants to make a point.
Sorry, notwithstanding that point, which I don't disagree with, I just think it's often quite challenging to get somebody suitably useful to come along from the Environment Agency and South West Water. And so if we have flexibility on dates, we just stand a greater chance. So from a practicalities perspective, if they can come at the same time and the committee would like them to do so, fine. I just think we stand a greater chance of having a conversation with them in the near future if we allow them to come separately. That was all.
Okay, we're happy with that because I do understand what Councillor Guthrie is saying, but I think to actually get them here, Chris is straight. And if I could just bring Councillor Reid.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I would agree with Councillor Guthrie to the extent that having both groups of people here on the same day, not necessarily in the room at the same time.
Thank you. Yeah, noted.
Practicalities, we understand that they've said that before. So.
Are you happy to leave that with, obviously, the officers to see what they can arrange? And if it is at all possible, but with the practicalities, you are happy for them to come on separate meetings? As long as we've got steering from the committee, you're happy either both at the same day, because then obviously Chris and his officers go away and make that. So I'll just make that point. Yes, certainly.
Just a purely administrative point. I think we just need to note that we need to change economy and jobs to Chris Shears rather than Adam Williams. But, yeah, doesn't change the topic, just the person presenting.
Right, thank you, Chris. That's well spotted. That was okay. Right. So, any further sort of points, questions on this work plan? I think we've discussed South West Water EA. Have we got the police coming in at some stage?
Yes. I believe that's going to be in January.
There we are. Right. So we have got Devon and Cornwall Police coming in, and obviously, what I would suggest is, if I'm able to Paul, is that if people have institution bodies they'd like to see, can they give us as much notice, either to myself or anyone, or to Kathy, because then at least, as Chris says, we can book someone, find the right person to come in. So, but as I said, this is all about overview and scrutiny, so there are some bodies that need calling in. I've been out without a phone line now for nearly 21 days, so I will certainly be wanting to speak to Openreach and British Telecom. But, you know, it's over to you if you want to bring in Councillor Southcott.
It would be nice to hear what Openreach are doing to actually catch up with the installation of fibre.
Yeah, I think we'd all be interested. I read an article that they're losing massive customers from their own to other customers. But we did have the Devon and Somerset group of the Connecting Devon and Somerset. We had them before the committee. But yes, I mean, certainly, Councillor Southcott, we can look at that.
Reason for bringing that up is that out in Loudoun there was a call for pledges. I'm not sure whether we've actually met the pledge numbers, but I had an email the other day saying that my pledge was about to expire. So that is probably going to come off the list.
Yeah, I understand.
Things are not being done.
Yeah, yes, there is a lot of confusion, and yes, I think if we can move it forward to get Openreach and Stroke or BT, or get somebody from Connecting Devon and Somerset. I know when they came there was a lot of unanswered questions, so that's certainly, yeah, thank you, Councillor Southcott. Councillor Kimber.
Can I ask about the police coming in? So we have the police teams drop-in sessions, which I find very useful, but what are we trying to achieve by bringing them here? Thank you.
Basically, because the drop-in sessions are more about operational and on a day-to-day, so therefore if you've got issues in your wards, I think this is going to be a more of an overview and strategy from the police. It's not really, you know, we've had shoplifting in Hatherley, it's a more of an overview. But again, the police drop-in meetings are very useful. If there's particular questions, obviously, you have for the police, I think what we'll do is establish, do we know who exactly is coming from Devon and Cornwall? Is it our local inspector, Daniel? Yeah. Once, is it the local inspector? Yes, Dan. So it's the local inspector, Daniel, who I apologise for the surname. So basically, he's sort of the head of operational policing. So I think if we keep our questions for strategy, but also I think it'd be good to find out about your local teams. And recently, Sergeant Tom Otley's been very useful for the residents of Clearbrook, because we've had a lot of antisocial behaviour and bushes going on. So that team's been very, very useful. Again, with all these committee meetings, they are what you make them. So invite people on, ask questions, challenge myself and Sam as the chair, Chris and Steve Molyneux. And again, questions to Kathy. But it is here for us to call things in. And if you see something, you know, you think, well, actually, you know, we called it in, please bring it to our attention. I mean, the work programme is a rolling work programme, so we will be adding things. But it is for you. And again, other members may come to you. I mean, Anne Johnson's raised a couple of things with me. But if other councillors come to you and say, this is something that needs to go on the overview scrutiny committee, then it should. Any further questions before I close the meeting? Thank you all. Thank you for being so gentlemen with our first meeting, and especially you, Steve. I was expecting. Anyway, thank you all very much. Thank you.